Hello everybody, this is Mark Werber, your Directory of Association Management Software. I am joined by Diane Clem and Frank Rittersdorf, your excellent trainers. Say hello.
Hello everyone.
Hey.
Diane and Frank have a great webinar planned for you today. They're going to cover part one of month-end accounting. We're going to focus on the reports that you run to reconcile invoices and receipts for posting to your general ledger. Let's get started, guys. As always, we're coming to you live from our multimedia studios right here in Simi Valley, California.
And just another update on our newest version. It is 10.1.08. Our tech support guys are currently upgrading our customers. So definitely give us a call. Get scheduled to get to the newest, the greatest, and the latest version of Magic. Now let's talk about the agenda of today's presentation. The first thing we're going to do is that we're going to take a look at the general ledger code locations. That way that you can, when you're exporting your transactions from Magic, it can communicate well with your accounting software. Then we're going to kind of give you an overview glance of the month-end procedure form and all the little ins and outs of that form. And then from there we're going to get in the nitty and the gritty and talk about the reconciling reports, for instance, cash receipts reports, sales and invoice reports. We have a couple optional, and even for all you customers that are using the inventory module in Magic to track your inventory, the inventory activity report. These are great reconciling reports to make sure that your transactions and your data is accurate before we start locking down and starting the month-end process. So let's go ahead and get started, and Diane's going to kind of show us where do we set up the general ledger setup.
Well, thanks, Frank. Yes, in order to find your GL account codes in Magic, you're going to set them up in two places. You're going to set them up in the charge code and also in the billing group information form. First, we're going to go to the charge code. We're going to take managers to accounting, billing processes, billing setup, and we're going to look at the charge code table. When you view the detail of any charge code, you'll see a field available for you to place your general ledger account code for your GL credit account. Each of these are unique to the charge code. You can enter them specifically for the items you have for sale or the items you're charging your members for here in the charge code at the charge code level. You'll notice the AR account is blank. We leave it blank so it'll always default to the correct AR account, which is in the billing group information form. If you have some kind of a sub-account, you can enter it there, but for the most part, we recommend you leave that blank. Speaking of the billing group information form, we're going to take you there now. This is in the same menu under Billing Setup, Billing Group Information Form. Select your billing group and zoom in, and you can see there's a list of default charge or GL account codes here. Your cash account, your accounts receivable account, sales tax account, and if you're using inventory, you'll have your inventory default account here as well. And finally, there is one way you can easily check whether you've got all of your GL account codes set up properly in your charge codes, and that is by using the charge code report. You're going to sort this by charge code, leave all of your criteria wide open, make sure they're active only, don't worry about the proration detail, and click Create Report. Once that report comes up, you'll be able to easily tell that your charge code is over to the left and the GL code is a little farther to the right of the report. Any items that are missing, such as the ones that we have here, will stand out immediately, and you can correct that before you run your month-end process. Make sure you always have a corresponding GL account code for every charge code. If those account codes are missing, when you try to update your month-end, you'll run into error messages, so do make sure you take care of this. Let's review. There are two places in Magic where you can find your GL account code setup. One place is in the charge code form itself under GL credit account, and the other is in the billing group information form where you have all of your default GL account codes. Manage your charge codes and your GL account codes by using the charge code report. It'll easily show you the charge code in relation to the GL code that's linked to that charge.
Thank you, Diane. Now let's take a look at the month-end procedures. And we're going to start with the month-end procedure form. Let's jump into Magic. So I'm going to use the short key to get there. It's Alt-M, and from there I can just start hitting the letters. So it's going to be A for accounting, O for month-end, and M for month-end procedures. So Alt-M, A, O, M. And it takes us to our month-end procedure catalog. The first thing you'll notice that you could actually have more than one month-end procedure. Maybe you have more than one association, and so you use different reports for one association that you would for another, or we also have year-end as well. I'm going to use the month-end with the notes, so that way you can personalize your notes. You can print the catalog by hitting the print procedure log, so that you can have a hard copy if that works for you. We also have, from down below, we have the actual steps for our process. You can highlight one of the steps, and you can see here on the right hand side that we have been practicing our webinar and so forth. So we have checked the procedure boxes here for each step, so you can reset that. In your case, you would probably do it from the month for the prior month. Reset the log, and now you can start from scratch and start the process over for your new month. You also can view notes. Rapattoni has put some notes in here, but you also could add some specific notes. This is great because anybody that has Magic can actually access these notes. So let's say for one reason or another, someone else has to take over the job duties of doing the month-end procedures, and they can have great specific notes for your association to follow, and they should be able to execute that task flawlessly. We also have View Step Help. Now this is the Magic Help. So you can click on that, and Magic will give you some information that will help you kind of go and complete this step, whether it be definitions, give you some ideas of what criteria you should put in there in case of reports and so forth, and even links to other areas of that process. So that can be very helpful as well. This is what makes this form so nice and centralized. Every time you highlight a step, you can hit Run Program, and it will take you right to that program, right to that step, and you're able to execute it without going through the whole branches of Magic. This is really great here. So we'll kind of cover this in a second. So let's go ahead and review the month-end procedure catalog. It's a centralized list of steps of the month-end process. Easy access to each step of the process. Again, you don't have to search for each program within Magic. You just hit Run Program, it takes you right there. It offers a place to make personalized notes in a centralized location for anyone to access. Like I said, if you, for some reason, are on vacation or you've moved on, then someone can step right in and take right over and hopefully have a nice seamless transition. Also, you have an opportunity to use the Magic Help by hitting the button there that gives you some ideas of how to execute that step. And from there, we're going to move on to the cash receipts report. We're going to start with the reconciling reports, and Diane's going to just get us started.
All right, so cash receipts report is the first of a series of reports that you can run during your month-end process to make sure that everything is in good shape before you take it and export it out of Magic and pull it into your accounting software. First couple of reports we're going to compare are the cash receipts reports. Each receipt consists of two pieces, the header and the detail. We run these two reports in two different ways to make sure that all your receipts are in good shape and there's no corrupt data. So let's go to Magic and see how to run these reports. Cash receipts report by batch is highlight. Click on Run Program to go to that form, and always run these in summary. We're just looking for totals right now. You're going to zoom into the batch ID and use our quick select option to select all the batches that pertain to your month. So you'll enter in your from and through dates. And clear any values that are in the status and the batch type fields so that you'll get all statuses and all batch types. Click OK, and your multi-selector will populate with all of the batches that fit into that criteria. In this case, we've kept it very simple for you. Click Done. And then once you're done with the batches, you're going to go into payment type and make sure you clear all, select all to capture all payment types. And then put your date range in for the month that you're processing. Click Create Report. And then you'll be provided with a report that gives you a summary of your cash receipts by batch. It'll tell you which payment type you're looking at, and it'll give you a total at the end, which you're going to make note of. So this is very simple when you run it by summary. Just it's important to make note of that number before you move on to the cash receipts by charge code. And moving back to our very handy procedure catalog, we're going to go to the next step after we check that box that says we've completed this step. Click Run Program, and now we're going to run the cash receipts report by charge code. We're going to do this again by summary. We're going to zoom in and select the batch and the payment types the same way, and then enter our from and through days for our month. Click Create Report, and you'll see this report looks a little bit different than the one we looked at previously. This one gives you another opportunity to compare your charge codes to your GL accounts. Again, it's in summary, so it's not a very lengthy report. And you'll see the total here matches the total of our cash receipts by batch. So we know that all of our transactions are in good shape, there's no corrupt data, and we don't have to worry about that. Now, let's review. Cash receipts report helps you identify any corrupt data within your receipts. Each receipt consists of two pieces, the header and the detail. The first report, cash receipts report by batch, shows all posted receipts and payments. Looks at the header of the receipt, and you're going to compare that report to your cash receipts by charge code. Cash receipts by charge code shows us where the funds were applied, which charge code relates to which GL account. It looks at the detail of the receipt, and you can compare that to the cash receipts report by batch.
Now let's take a look at some of the reports that focus on the invoices. Let's get back into Magic. So I'm going to go ahead and complete and check off the fact that we did the cash receipts report by charge code. We're going to move into invoice registers. Like the receipts, the invoices do have a header portion of the invoice as well as a detailed portion of the invoice. The invoice registers by date is going to look at the actual header of the invoice. So I'm going to select the date. Real simple criteria. We like to leave this wide open. If you have different bill groups and GL companies, you can be specific on how you want to run this. But we're just going to kind of leave it open and put in the dates. Now I do have an option to include only outstanding invoices, but I want to see all the invoices that were created under that date parameters. It's a great reference tool to have as well, especially utilizing the PDF version of or option, output option for creating these reports. So let's go ahead and create the report. And here we are, we're looking at the invoice register by date. And what we're going to see here is that we're going to see the invoice number. We're going to see the member number as well as the name, as well as the office information. We're going to see the date the invoice was created, and also the total of the invoice. If I Control N to see the bottom and the totals, we're going to get a quick glance at the total. As you know, we did run this in summary. Because this is our initial run of the report, we're just trying to make sure there's no corrupt data within the invoice and or the header portion of the invoices. Okay, so take note of that total. Now let's move on to the sales journal report. And when you run this by charge code, it's going to look at the detailed portion of the invoice. And just because we're looking at the detailed portion of the invoice doesn't mean that we want to run this in a detailed format. Again, we're just doing a preliminary report just to kind of take a quick look at the total to make sure there's no corrupt data. So I'm going to do a summary option and I'm going to put in the date range to make sure that we are comparing apples to apples. And again, I'm going to select all the invoices that were created to kind of compare it and make sure it's equal to what we ran in and for the invoice register. So I'm going to grab the sales journal report. And what we're looking here is we're actually going to see the charge code. Like the receipts, the detailed portion is going to show us the GL account code that the charge code is associated with, and also the total. If I do a control end here and go down to the bottom of the report, I'm going to see the total of the report and take note that that equals the total of the invoice register. So in our nice little case that we have here, everything works out so smoothly. Hopefully it works out smoothly for you every time you run it. But again, that's a way. If it's not like that, then I would recommend to definitely kind of take smaller, but run these reports in smaller time periods, like weekly basis and then daily basis, until you find which receipt or invoice is corrupt. And then if it's something you can fix, go ahead. If not, definitely give us a call. We can kind of help you with that as well. Let's review. So again, we looked at the sales reports. The first one was invoice register by date. This is going to list all the invoices created with your date parameters. And this is a great reference tool as well. It looks at the header of the invoice. And also you want to compare it to the sales journal report by charge code. That report is going to compile all information on items being invoiced. So basically kind of looking at the charge codes on the invoice and kind of getting that information. It looks at the detailed portion of the invoice, and of course you want to compare it to the invoice register report to make sure that they are equal and every invoice is created completely. Now we do have two other optional reports that Diane's going to take us through. You want to go get us started?
Yes, thanks, Frank. Two optional reports that are available in month end in Magic are the cash accounts reconciliation report and the aged accounts receivable. First, we're going to look at the cash accounts reconciliation report. And again, we're going to use our handy shortcut. Leave the billing group and GL open unless you separate them specifically, but we're going to type in our date range for our month. We are going to select print indication of no interbilling group activity. I want to explain this report a little bit. The purpose of this report is to show you whether you have any transactions that were created across billing groups. That is to say, maybe you have a dues invoice that was paid in a batch that looks at the MLS billing group, or vice versa. This report will identify those for you so you can make any corrections you need to for your GL. And the next report that we have available that's optional is your aged accounts receivable. This is a great collections tool for you. It'll give you a list of all the members who are still owing money to your association, and it'll also give you, how old those invoices are. Again, you're going to leave your information wide open. You can run this in detail to get all your member information. And enter your date range that you're looking for. So this will give you a list of the members you need to reach out to and contact to collect the money that they owe you. So again, two optional reports in Magic that you can run at month end. The cash accounts reconciliation report will tell you if you have any transactions that were applied to invoices outside the receipts billing group, or vice versa. For instance, if your invoice belongs to your ASOC billing group and your receipts belong to MLS group, if those are applied to each other, it'll show up on this report. Also, we have your aged accounts receivable report. This compiles information on outstanding invoices. You can go ahead and contact your members and let them know they're past due and they need to pay their bills.
Now the last report that we want to show you for all those customers that we have that are running the inventory module, maintaining your inventory through Magic, is the inventory activity report. And let's take a quick look. So we're going to look at the inventory activity report, which will actually give you the current activity for the current time period. And again, I like to just grab active because most likely those are going to be the items that are going to have activity. From there, you're going to go to the activity through date. We're just going to put this in here. We know it's not the end of the month yet, but most customers are running the month-end processes a week to 10 days after the end of the month to let transactions kind of settle and you can fix them quickly and easily. This is the best time to run the activity report because it is a time-sensitive report and you will capture accurate data. So let's take a look. So what we're looking here is, and I think we've done the inventory webinar just in the last couple of months, but we might be somewhat familiar here, but we're looking at the charge codes or the inventory items on the left, the inventory GL codes and the cost of sales codes right next to that. And then from there, what we're going to be concerned about on this particular, when we're running this report, is that we're going to see the last time we updated and the quantity on hand. Now, shame on us, we have not run the month end for inventory since the end of last year, but due to lack of activity in our inventory, we thought that would be the best. But what it's going to show you is the total that you had at the time you ran your last month end. It's going to subtract any sales that came out of the inventory. It's going to add any receipts or purchase orders that were put back into your inventory for that item, and then consider any adjustments that you might have made. From there, it's going to take the total and do all the math, and then give us a new total for the time that we're actually running the inventory report. If your ending balance has a negative value, you will want to investigate and correct it. For this represents you sold more items than you had on hand, and that just doesn't work in the inventory world. You also can use Control N to see the total value of the report. So what this report does is shows the activity of your inventory. It looks at the inventory totals from the last time the month-end process was ran. It's going to subtract any of the sales, add any of the receipts or the POs, and also consider any adjustments, which will end up giving you a current total for your inventory. And like we said, it's the only time to really capture the inventory values for the end of the current period. So really recommend doing that on a monthly basis. Let's summarize, Diane.
All right, we covered a lot of ground today. Today we looked at general ledger code locations, the two places that you can find your general ledger codes in Magic. And Frank showed us how to use the month-end procedures form. It's a great centralized location to run this process from, a great place to store your notes. And we went through the reports that you should run prior to posting your month-end to make sure all of your transactions are in good shape. We looked at cash receipts reports by batch and charge code, and sales reports such as the invoice register and the sales journal. Optional reports you can run for your month-end process is the cash reconciliation and the aged accounts receivable. And finally, we showed you the inventory activity report, a great way to capture the values of your inventory at month-end.
Thanks, Diane. And now it's time for the question and answer section of our presentation.
So if anyone's got any questions out there. All right, so how do batches affect month-end? Well, your batches can be organized in a number of ways. You can do them daily, you can do them weekly, however you want to, but if you're maintaining those batches as you go along, that is to say, making sure your batches match your deposit ticket and all those numbers are good, then your month end's going to be really easy because all your numbers have been clean all throughout the month. You've maintained them as you've gone along. Anything else out there?
Well, here's one. What happens if my reports do not match? Like, for instance, the cash receipts report by batch or charge code. What if they do not match when I run them in the summary format for the month end? Well, we recommend that if that happens, then we recommend that you actually take a smaller bites, basically, and for instance, instead of the month, you do, like, say, run the reports in a weekly in summary, and see if there's a discrepancy during that each week, and find out which week. From there, then you run it on a daily basis, and once you find the specific day or even batch that the discrepancy is in, then from there run it in detail, and you should be able to find the invoice or the receipt that is creating that discrepancy. If it's something that you can fix on your own, definitely feel free to do that. But if it's something that might be a corrupt data that we might have to complete a receipt or invoice, then definitely give us a call and we can do that for you as well. And how do you get to the month-end procedure catalog in Rapattoni? That actually is, you can do a shortcut key, which is Alt-M, A-O-M. But let me just take you right here into Magic. We'll kind of go through the long way, where you go to Managers, Accounting, Month-end Process, Month-end Procedures. Again, the shortcut is Alt-M, A, O, and M. And this is again, this is also, if you do use your mouse through the branches of Magic, you also go through Managers, Accounting, Month-end Processes, and Month-end Procedures. If you have any other questions, feel free to email us at webinars@rapattoni.com, and we can answer those questions for you, or just give us a call. And now it's time for the Rapattoni 411. This month we don't have too much for you, but we do want to remind you we are going to have a second part to this month-end procedure presentation. Again, the month-end presentation is a guide for the Magic's month-end procedures. And this next part, we are going to focus on the batching of the current time periods transactions, comparing the journal entry reports to the reconciling reports. So the reports that we just ran, we compared them to each other, but you also will pick a couple of those reports and compare them to your journal entry report. And then also show you how to export the data for your general accounting software. So feel free on April 30th, 2014.
And to view past and future webinars and to register for upcoming webinars, visit our website at www.rapattoni.com. Click on Support, Magic, Webinars and Training Videos, and you'll see a complete catalog of all our past webinars, and you'll also see any upcoming webinars you can register for. You can also get help by clicking on Support, Magic, and Magic Resource Articles. There's several articles there for you to reference if you have questions about Magic.
I want to thank you for joining the presentation. We will look forward to seeing you guys on next month. Have a good day.